conversation we'll have today is about personalities and decision making and why it's so important. And I am going to break it up into in those two areas of personalities and decision making. We know that a lot of times what gets in the way of good collaboration, we all default to saying, well, we just have different personalities. But oftentimes we don't really know what to do about that. And we just chalk it up to, well, you know how he is, you know how she is, But what I want to encourage you is that there are strategies and techniques to address and improve collaboration and leadership if we understand more about personalities and decision making. So let me point that out, is that oftentimes it's not just personalities. Personalities drive your decision making, okay? All right, and what usually gets in the way of getting along and being able to make good decisions and work as a team is definitely your personality, but more to the point, it's the leadership, it's the decision style that your personality drives towards. All of us here have a preferred decision style, which is driven by your personality, okay? And it's your decision style that frustrates others. It's not your personality. So I really want to emphasize that. What mostly frustrates people about you, we call it, oh, it's his personality, but it's not. It's your decision-making style. It's how you handle decisions. Okay, it's what do you do with data whenever it's time to go to action? Do you go to action? Do you go to collaboration? Do you go to research? Or do you go to, to different phases? So keep that in mind. I want to separate it. Okay, so that's why it's important to talk about them and see them as to how they impact your everyday decision making. Okay, and then we'll also get into the tools to make this possible and get everybody on the same page. Okay, the tools is very important. Everyone has to use the same language in order to improve. You can't use, for example, the DISC program and half of your team's using the Myers-Briggs program. Okay, you can't call it a dominant personality and then somebody calls it a type A personality. You all have to get on the same page so you can actually make decisions better. All right, so the first thing that I want to show you is the order of disciplines. We all want to create great leadership, right? That's what we've been talking about, okay? But in order to create good leadership, okay, there's one step further that you have to be able to address. You have to be able to collaborate. In order to create great leadership, you have to collaborate well, okay? In order to collaborate well, you have to have roles and your structure in place. What's your role? What's your role? What's your responsibilities? That's got to be clear. Otherwise, collaboration becomes very difficult if we don't have clarity on roles and responsibilities. And right in there is where you should have your org chart cleared up. Okay? So the talks that we had yesterday regarding form and structure prior to people, very, 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 very true, okay? But in order to build good roles and structure, you have to have trust, okay? What I want to encourage you is right here at trust is where we usually stop. We don't go further than that, okay? What I want to cover in the talk today is this next point, okay? That in order to build trust, everyone has to be extremely self-aware. Okay, in order for me to trust you, I have to be very comfortable with who I am and what I bring to the table, both positive or negatives, because if I'm not comfortable with who I am and what my weaknesses are, I'm probably just going to react to the weaknesses I see in you. And it's going to be a knee-jerk reaction. And I'm sorry to say that a lot of times, most of us are working from a reaction to somebody else's decision-making style because we're also not very comfortable with our decision-making style, or whether you're even aware of it. In order to make better decisions together, they have to be very self-aware of their pros and their cons, how well they make decisions, but how also they bring a lot of negativity in their decision-making style, and everyone's got to be okay with it. Make sense? So if I asked you guys right now, if I went around the room and I said, what is the number one positive thing about your decision-making style, would you be able to say it? Sure, of course you would. That's what made you great, okay? But then if I ask you this, all right, what is the number one thing in your decision-making style that frustrates the people around you and that is the biggest hang-up to you being successful? Now here's the third question, okay? Do you openly admit that in front of your team members? Okay? And are you balancing that with others, or are you just still using your style? Hey, they just got to learn it. The issue of why this is important in leadership, one of my favorite quotes from Steve Jobs, he says, if you want to hire great people and have them stay working for you, you have to let them make a lot of decisions, and you have to be run by ideas, not by hierarchy. The best ideas have to win, otherwise people don't stay. Okay? If you want to know if you're keeping the best people, the question is are you able to let them make an enormous amount of decisions? If you're not, your best people are leaving. Okay? And so to keep your best people, you have to create an environment to where they bring ideas, y'all can collaborate and work together. Let's drive it a little further. This is what Simon Sinek said. The responsibility of leadership is not to come up with all the ideas. Okay, early this morning I had a session with a COO that I'm helping, and I encouraged her. I said, how are the meetings yesterday? She said, very good, very good. They structured it. Were you able to facilitate, or were you able to resolve problems? You hear my question? Were you able to facilitate, or were you able to resolve problems? Which one do you think I want to hear? Facilitate. Because if she facilitates, then I can ask, well, great, did your facilitation help others resolve problems? Okay, and that's what Simon Sinek is saying here. The responsibility of leaders is not to come up with all the ideas, but to create an environment in which great ideas can thrive. Okay, so it is about protecting ideas, caring for ideas, because that's how we're going to keep team members engaged. Okay. The level by which you allow ideas to flourish up from others, and the level by which you allow others to make decisions, to that degree will you engage your people more. Okay? All right. And then here's another good quote by Brian Tracy. Even when others do not entirely agree with the decision, the results are much better if you have gone through a detailed process of discussion, made a clear decision, and then requested full commitment and support. This is a true mark of leadership. Okay, it's the ability to make decisions, and once we're out the door, everybody has to buy in and support it and defend it as though they agreed, and they cannot break rank. Everyone has to buy in. And so oftentimes that conversation around boardrooms and around discussions and decisions, that's usually left to being unsaid. I encourage you to have this conversation with your leaders. Guys, whenever we sit here and we talk, when we leave, you guys recognize we don't have our own opinion anymore. We represent the decision-making body, and we all support what we all do. And if we fall flat on our face, we can't later then say what? Oh, well, I told him we should have done that. No, you have to basically down the sword and say, we made a mistake. Okay? And that's a true mark of leadership. It's being all on the same page.